Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Richard. I am the founder of vbout.com. Vbout is a full suite marketing automation platform. So anybody who wants to manage their email, social media, drip campaigns, leads, lists, landing pages, everything you need to run multi-channel marketing campaigns uh, can be found in our platform. We work a lot with marketers, with agencies, and we pretty much solve the issue of multi-tools or using multiple platforms to achieve one goal, which is making sales and reaching more audience. A little bit about myself, beside being the founder of vbout. So I've been doing this. I've been in the marketing industry for quite some time, probably about 8 years, working with businesses, setting up their campaigns, learning their challenges. And along the way, we decided to build out the platform, and we've been pretty active in the marketing community in New York City. So we have a marketing, a lot of marketers who we meet once a month. We discuss different topics, and we mingle, we network, we meet each other, we learn some of the latest stuff in technology, and then we take the stuff and we recycle it and we share it with you. So this is one of the chains of multiple webinars we're putting up together that's going to be compiled into a full course. So anybody who wants to learn everything they need to know in digital marketing from A to Z, we're about to complete our 12-session course. Probably by September, we'll have everything completed, and you can attend every single webinar and pretty much become a digital marketer or a marketing professional if you follow our tutorials and our tool demos. I want to give a quick shout out to the rest of the team. I have Audrey, who also help orchestrate all this stuff. She's our marketing director. We have George, who helps with the content. Kelly, who helped also put a lot of the content together. Justine, who does the slides. So it's a collaborative team effort to put these webinars and deliver them to you. If you enjoy what you're looking at, please follow us on our social media channels. We have our handle for Twitter. We have YouTube channel where we going to share this webinar with you after it's complete. We'll post it on our blog, and we will send you periodic updates of upcoming webinars and upcoming events. So please join us. We won't spam you, and you can always unsubscribe if we start annoying you, which we never do. One quick, very, very exciting announcement. You probably can see on the screen a new logo that we're sharing. So this is the first public place where we've shared this logo. So this is an intimate webinar for us. Again, this is part of our rebranding. We put a lot of thoughts into it. We've been working on the logo for a month. Although it might look simple, there's a lot of thought process that went into it, and I'll be compiling and making a quick video of how we came about this particular logo. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation. This is going to be jam-packed. We have what is lead intelligence, how lead intelligence is gathered, the goals that you can achieve, qualifying leads, lead scoring, setting up funnels, nurturing leads, and a quick overview of analytics and tools to use. All right, so let's go back to the beginning and how lead intelligence first was born. So lead intelligence is not a new thing. It's actually been deployed in the market since early 2000s, but it has evolved greatly over the years. So the need for additional information from a salesperson perspective to be able to target people, and the demise, I don't want to say the demise because cold calling is still an effective method today, but it's not scalable enough where you have to hire 20 people to do cold calling and people are not expecting your call. So there's a little barrier, and it's becoming a little more difficult to do cold calling these days, particularly with having phone calls and apps that blocks your number, and people can actually spam your phone number if they complain. So there's a lot of issues for doing mass outbound cold calling. And this is where lead intelligence has evolved, is the necessity for marketers to have a tool of some sort that gives them background information on users before they reach out to them. This way, instead of reaching out to somebody they have no information about, they can have a little bit of a background and put the call into perspective. So sales development and sales teams have been really experimenting with new ways to reach new customers, and lead intelligence has been in the core of this process. So what is lead intelligence? Again, we're continuing, and I always like to go back to cookies. And I'm not talking about the cookies that most of us like. I'm referring to web browser or session cookies. So a little history, cookie was created back in the 1995 with the early Netscape navigator. This is where one developer, he decided to create an identifier and place it on the browser of the user. It's something that might look like what you're looking at on the screen. It's just a simple number that communicates between the browser of the user and the server where they're looking at the website. This way, the server is able to identify who is that user, and if there were already some background data collected, they can pull some of that data out and match it with the browser experience. It's an old technology. Again, it's not the cookies we love, and now a lot of people actually hate cookies. However, it's used with almost every single website you visit these days. Why they called it cookies? I think the story behind it is that they wanted to refer to it as a fortune cookie, where there are, it looks like a cookie, but inside it there are some data that, or whatever, a little message that discloses some story on the person opening the cookie. So that's how it came about. Now, the reason I'm discussing cookies, it's that lead intelligence, customer experience, customizing and personalizing the user journey, it all depends at this particular day and time on how cookies are being dropped on your browser. So let's discuss other terms that are really common with the lead intelligence is the user lifecycle. So typically these days, users are not only using their computer, and also they're not only using one channel of communication. So along the journey of a user, there's hundreds of touch points, and to narrow it down to the ones that are the most common, they come about 10 different channels. So before the user gets to they get to your end of the funnel or where they make a purchase, they probably have contacted you via the website form, or they landed on your social media channels, they clicked on a link, they went to one of your landing pages, they filled out one of your forms, then they moved over to your website, they received an email, they clicked on the link, then maybe they're browsing Facebook, they saw an ad on the right side of the screen, then they came back and maybe they made a call. So all these different things that are happening are becoming a big challenge for marketers to deliver leads to the sales team. How do they bridge all these data together? How do they compile it in one simple profile that it could be relevant enough, and marketers can become more effective at this. So this is what's called the user lifecycle, is all these different channels and touch points they go through before they achieve a particular KPI or goal or conversion pixel that you want them to achieve. And with this, if you combine the need of the marketers to use marketing to make prospecting more intelligent, the inception of the cookie that communicates the user activity on their browser and the server, as well as the user lifecycle, lead intelligence is born. So you can think of lead intelligence as a form of data mining, where we're compiling all these different activities and behaviors and time spent and clicks and mouse movements, and we throw it back to the server, and we're creating an ultimate profile on a particular user. So you're looking at the screen here. I know it might be a little small, but this particular user probably has done hundreds of things before they were collected by a system. And you can see they have a score, which we'll get to, a part of the lead scoring. They have additional activities such as how many lists they belong to, emails they opened, websites, web pages they visited, goals achieved. social media activity, etc., etc. So the purpose of lead intelligence, again, is to create an ultimate profile on every single user you have that aggregates all the data you need to create what's called a hot lead or a qualified prospect. So what is the benefits of this? Why do I need to collect or create an ultimate user profile? What does this do to me? How does it help anybody? So here are a few benefits that I want to share with you. By doing so, you can, using filters and search, you can better target and identify those who are qualified leads from random visitors. One of the big issues that sales teams face is the fact that they go through a lot of noise and they waste a lot of time. So over the years, marketers and sales teams, they operated in silos and they weren't able to deliver this to the sales team. This is why they had to use some sort of a technology, and I'm saying this again, to qualify leads, and instead of wasting time doing cold callings or reaching out to leads that are not ready, they can identify them easily using lead intelligence. So this saves a lot of time on the salespeople process perspective. It also decreases the sales cycle. So instead of having to go through, the qualification process, the follow-up process, and doing all that stuff, you can actually cut that in by 20 to 30% if you use lead intelligence. And you can also automate the lead screening process, which can ultimately lead to less people involved in the qualification and the prospecting. So again, I want to go back to what I was mentioning, all these different touch points that we interact with when a user starts his journey with a particular brand. Right? So the data is gathered from all these different channels, and I'm going to break them down to you. What are these activities? What are these channels, and how these data could be relevant to you. So these are the different things we're going to be covering. There are probably a few more, but the main channels right now that you can collect data on are email activity, web browsing activity, social media, SMS, in-app, meaning mobile apps, and a physical location activity. Okay, so one particular lead is surrounded by all these different technologies that deliver messages to them. And with that, you can aggregate specific data based on which technology we're covering. So let's start with email. Email is also not a new technology. It's been used over the years, but it's evolving a lot, particularly with the need of becoming smarter and more efficient in email and how users are behaving with emails. So obviously you can send out a mass email to a bunch of people, or you can do it using a drip campaign, meaning hence the word drip, is you funnel each email individually to a particular user, or you can simply send somebody direct email with direct outreach, which is probably the least efficient if you're doing or you're scaling at a large organization. So some of the relevant data that you would look at when looking at email, or the things that could mean that a lead is interested, are things like if a person opened an email, that means he's interested in reading the content in it. If they clicked on the link, that means the content was good enough for them to move to your website or whatever it is you're sending them to. The email engagement, have they just opened and deleted the email? Did they open it and read through most of the content? So the duration at which a user is reading your email is also important. It gives you some indications of how interested they are. If they unsubscribed, that means maybe they're not as interested. So you should take that into consideration as a negative action. If they shared this could be that they have other people that they're interested to share with. Bounce rates, if the email is not active or there's an issue with it, that tells you that, okay, maybe you should enhance or look for a different way to reach out to this person. And of course, complaints, if somebody is complaining that they've been reached by somebody and they didn't authorize you to. So that could be also a negative indication. So this information can be generated by your email tool, merge into your contacts, and used to help you build a better email journey for a profile. But the second part we'll discuss is the data collected from a website. So obviously you've seen or you've visited a website at least today, and I promise you at least once today you've been cookied and your browsing behavior has been tracked. Whether it's an analytics tool that did the tracking, whether it's a prospecting tool that did the tracking, or whether it's a sales generation tool that did the tracking. Either way, you've been cookied, that I promise. So here are some of the things that your activity might have been collected. First, the pages that you visited. And this could be relevant to the end marketer who's collecting that data to see which pages you're interacting with. The links that you've clicked. Similarly to an email, you taking an action and clicking on the link means that you might be looking for the next piece of information that leads you somewhere. And this could be making a purchase, this could be signing up, this could be just browsing and reading more. Whatever it is, that intent is gathered by a link being clicked. Average time spent. So because your time is very valuable, the more time you spend on a particular vendor's website, the more likely you're closer to making a decision. Usually if you just came to a website and you're not that interested, there's an issue, you feel like this is not it, you bounce right off, and the time you spend is much lesser than if you're interested. You're digging deeper into the data, you're checking out the features in more depth, etc. Of course, conversion, meaning if you signed up to a free trial, or if you converted on a landing page and you submitted an inquiry form. Videos watched, and because videos are becoming more popular, this particular action or tracking this particular action is becoming more popular, and there's a lot of tools out there that helps you measure video engagement, the duration of time that you've seen the video, how many times you played it, etc. Of course, we have mouse movement, so now we can track where users are browsing, how they're moving their mouse, where are they clicking, how further down the page they're scrolling. And this is not a new technology either, but it's being gathered, and there are ways where you can take that data and try to predict user behavior as of what is the next thing they're going to do. Some more in-depth stuff that you might be being tracked on are funnel drop-offs, meaning maybe you went through a purchase and you dropped out, bounce rates, how fast you dropped off the page, forms being filled out, which is extremely important, and much more. So all these user activities can build out your on-site activity. That could be relevant as far as your interest and how closer you are to being a prospect. So lead data from social media. Social media has been a challenge for measuring ROI. A lot of marketers have no idea how to measure the right ROI from social media. You can whip out a quick report from analytics and see what's the conversion like from referrals from social media. However, it doesn't simply work directly. Somebody clicks on, people might be engaging with your channels and doing a lot of things, but they don't necessarily convert into a buying user. Maybe they're interacting with you a lot because they like the content, but they are not even ready to make a purchase. So being able to track the comments, the likes, certain engagement activity on social media, merging that into the other activities that I discussed, like the website activity, email activity, can give you a little bit more background on, okay, this person is not only on social media, it seems his interest is beyond that. He's also interested in reading my content from email. He's also interested in visiting my pricing page. That means this social media data could be relevant to qualifying that lead. So, salespeople don't really know how to use social data to qualify a lead, but being able to aggregate this data to them in the form of a lead profile can definitely help in the identification or the qualification process. So figuring out, or the term social media intelligence is a new target for marketers. They're trying to become a little bit more, how to say, they're trying to leverage it better so they could translate certain sentiments, negative, positive, certain types of comments or times that the comments were posted into what's called, quantifiable lead data. And this is where terms can get confusing. All right, so let's talk about SMS, or also known as texting. So there's two types of texting. There is mass texting, and there's single user texting, which I'll discuss in a second. So, being able to reach a person on their cell phone is somehow invasive, but it's a little bit less crowded because not a lot of companies are SMSing, or not a lot of marketers are using SMS effectively. And there's a lot of compliance issues, particularly in the United States, when sending mass SMS. You can get sued, you can get into trouble, so there's really a fine barrier. However, it's known that with SMS you can have better user engagement, better open rate, although it's very hard to measure it unless somebody takes an action from that email. And a lot of people don't get messages from brands because, as I mentioned, it can be invasive. So this is why I differentiate between mass SMS, where you're sending tons of messages to thousands of people on their phone, and that could get risky. Or if somebody's engaging with you, they visited your website, they clicked on the demo, they watched the video, and you sent them an email or SMS, then that SMS is much more relevant than somebody who's driving a car or in the middle of having lunch and all of a sudden they got a message from you. So personalizing that direct message to a person based on their behavior and measuring the engagement with that message, meaning if somebody clicked on it or they asked you not to text, to opt out from your SMS thread, I mean, this is good stuff for you to build out on the profile as well. Okay, so now we move to the lead data collected from mobile apps. So, mobile apps and mobile experience is, the future of technology. A lot of companies, or most of user activity are happening on a mobile phone. A lot of things are being achieved using an app versus a website. I use my Amazon app to make purchases more than I did on the website. I look at my Facebook feed more than from my app more than I do from a website. So from a business perspective, how are you going to take this data? How do you, you cannot just drop a cookie in an app like you do on a website. It's a completely different technology, the experience. So this is why there's new things or new ways for you to track how people are engaging with a particular app, or let's say your app. So similarly to what you do on the website, when somebody's browsing on a mobile app, they're refined or defined to very limited action options. This is why it's less cluttered, or it's supposed to be less cluttered when you're browsing or you're using an app. It's narrower screen. So the things you'll be doing are time spent on a particular page, scrolls, how much you're scrolling down and up the page, clicking on particular buttons, which are fewer than you would see on a website, deep linking between pages, or the links you'll be clicking at to move from one page to another page, referrals, and also logging into your account on an app could substitute the need for a cookie, because now if somebody logs in on an app, you know that this particular user that have this particular activity have logged into your mobile application, and this could be logged in as part of the user journey on their profile. So that can take a huge part of the lead intelligence. So more on apps, as I mentioned, just the app experience itself, the content that people are reading on the app, how further down they're engaging with that content, push notifications, so sending mass push notifications or personalized push notification based on the user journey or behavior, meaning maybe they visited your website and they've engaged with a few things. they click on sign up but didn't complete it. I think I might have skipped a part, but let's say they signed up to your app and they never used it. You can send them a push notification as a reminder to use the app. And you know, it's becoming a little bit more crowded and controlled. However, it's still being used. And marketers, marketers have been trying to use what we call growth hacking to leverage push notification in order to reach a particular user. So again, I mentioned that logging into an app can substitute the need for a cookie, and you can track people between their experience on their desktop and their experience on a mobile, because if you can't track that, there's a disconnect, and the user's activity on a mobile device cannot quite be tracked from a lead intelligence perspective. And this is still a challenge, by the way. So moving on to leads from a physical location. You know, probably been or have heard about beacons and the beacon technology, or geofencing and determining the exact user location. This is something that's been evolving over the past few years. They haven't quite figured out 100% how to use it effectively, because there's many limitations to it, such as how do you reach the user on their phone? How do you detect somebody? How you detect if somebody is at a particular location? And I think you know, it's becoming a little bit more intrusive when it comes to detecting exactly where a person is. That does not mean that it's not taking part of lead intelligence prospecting and where a user is at a particular given time. So there's a fine barrier there. But the beacon technology is, like you see on the screen, this particular device that might be placed somewhere in a shopping center, for example. If you go to a mall and you're walking around the mall, this device detects your phone if you have the mall app. Let's say, you know, the Palisades Mall, you're browsing, you're walking around, and you have the Palisades Mall app on your phone, and the Palisades Mall marketing manager places these beacons all around the mall. They'll be able to communicate between these devices and your phone because you're running the app, their app, and it could send back signals telling the marketing manager this particular user is at this particular location. And this can help deliver very hyper-targeted location-based messages. I don't know how many of you have an Android or have Google Apps installed on their phone, like a Gmail app or others. But on my Android, every time I'm passing next to a location that I might have searched or made a search on, Google tells me or gives me a hint. This particular place had 2 reviews. So I think this is being used not necessarily using a beacon technology, because Google obviously detects my location. There's a setting on my phone that tells me you want to share your location with Google. So they're taking that data, they're taking the business location, that's a restaurant or a bar or whatever, and they're delivering a message to me because I'm passing next to that place. This, you know, to some extent, some people feel like they don't want to give out that much data. Me personally, I don't care. I'd rather get personalized messages, and if I'm not interested, I can always turn off my geolocation tracking. So it's been done. Google has been effectively using it without the need to deploy those small beacons, and I think it's getting better every day. All right, so now that we've covered the main technologies, you know, let's talk a little bit about what you can achieve with this data and how you can use it. So the first thing is that, you know, you've acquired by just pulling, if you're targeting, let's say 50 people, and you're going through as a prospector or a person who's gathering leads, you look at this list of 50 people, and you'll be able to sift through every single person and see how much data or how many touch points have they been through, how much you've collected, which ones of these 50 are worth you sending over to your sales exec to maybe focus on and work on those 10 leads out of the 50, right? So, being able to get insights on the habits and interests will allow you to pass better data to your sales team. Also, you can take this aggregation of data and you can deliver better user experience, whether it's through ads served, whether it's through website experience. For instance, on VBot, we can take part of this data and we can create different emails and email templates based on this data. If somebody has a higher score or is engaged more, can see particular content in their email that another person who's less engaged will not necessarily see. So this is something that can be used by gathering that data. You can also use it if you want to make your customer experience better. Part of this technology is not only to sell more, but also to maintain who you've sold to. Figuring out that people are really engaging, you can offer them some advanced things or some, particular upgrades that might not be offered to random users or regular users. Just give it as rewards to your, engaged user and establish longer long-term relationships with them. Also, I mean, you probably hear a lot, predictive analytics and predictive behavior. Obviously, you cannot predict the future unless you look a little bit at the past. And, the users can do so much before they make a purchase. There's probably an iteration of 500 things they can do on your website. And again, this depends on how robust is your site. But let's say in a smaller case scenario, somebody can do or can take 500 total combination of actions before they turn into a consumer. So you can create what's called customer personas or potential personas. And these personas can be based on an aggregate of these behaviors. So if you take 500 people that visited your website and converted, you can look at all these data, analyze it, and create the best journey on your site according to this behavior. This is how you can predict what's called the predictive marketing. I don't want to get too complicated with this. We probably should cover it in a different webinar, but it's something fascinating. It is the future of marketing where, people or the consumer behavior is being predicted based on all these different gathered signals. And, not to mention, by combining all these different goals, you can, achieve a better user experience and get more customers. So it's not only good for businesses, it's also good for the end customers, because now a customer doesn't have to waste time going through things they're not interested in. Because McDonald's know that placing a particular banner on the left versus the right, it might get them more purchase or more views on a new burger they're rolling out. They get that data and it helps the consumer somehow they decide, okay, maybe I want this versus Happy Meal. Not that I eat McDonald's, but I'm just giving that as an example. Me being served on Facebook ads that for products I'm looking at the moment or I'm considering buying is much better for me than being served ads of things I'm not remotely interested in. So typically, I mean, the way I decide to purchase, if it's an expensive item, I do my research first. I look for ads and I see which of the vendors are spending more, and I try to learn how they're doing it, or trying to kind of see how they're doing it right, if they're spending good money on marketing, check their reviews. So it's an interesting thing for me where I see things delivered best on my current interest versus something I'm not interested in. And this gives you a better advantage over your competition, because not most businesses, and you'll be surprised, are not leveraging lead intelligence effectively to sell more. You can always do it better than your competitors. Okay, so the lead journey and the qualification process. So typically when, I'm talking about the digital world, when somebody arrives to your website, you have no idea who this person is beside, very specific data like their location, their device, perhaps where they came from. If they never engage with your site, that is, they're never being cookied. So we call this an IP address, anonymous user. They're just browsing. You have no identifiers who they are. You have no point of contact. If they leave the site and they didn't fill out any forms, you cannot reach them again. Beside retargeting, of course, which we'll discuss in a second. So it starts as being an anonymous IP. This IP, however, is still an asset to you and to your team. So you use their IP address and you track them along the way, and you can try to collect their data via forms. Perhaps the form can read that this person is a new visitor, and tailor your website forms according to that information. You can generate pop-ups on the website that only trigger to those who have never submitted any identifiable piece of data. Once that person or that IP takes the next step and they sign up, then you merge all their previous activity into a profile, and this is where his actual qualification begins. Not qualification, but actually him becoming a valuable data for the sales teams begin. Because before that, there was no way to contact that person. So, everything starts obviously with, collecting an email of the anonymous subscriber or a phone number. Although email might be better because you want to get in touch with this person somehow, whether as a follow-up, a drip campaign, a nurture process. So being able to collect an email initially can help you build up the profile of the person and start a nurture sequence. The screen you're looking at is a quick profile of how a random IP was tracked, and they visited the blog repeatedly on different times and different days, and the time spent. So they're being scored according to different things they did, and they do have a particular status. So this is what we call an IP address, location, and you have the time and what's their status. That doesn't mean that every single IP address is going to become a lead, but however, it's a good way for them to get started and a good way for you to start building up their anonymous profile. So going back to the sales processes, a lot of time or a lot of noise can be costly for sales departments. If you have somebody who can prospect 100 people per day and reach out 100 people, if 70% of these leads have never been vetted before, this person is spending a lot of their time on random data. To effectively do it, deliver 100 qualified people to this person versus 100 random people, and that will give you definitely a better return. So the qualification process is much faster. Excuse me. So this is two quick diagrams that I put together. This is traditional way of doing sales, and of course there could be 100 ways of framing this, but you have your lead generation sources, whether you've collected it from your site, whether you've been doing your own research. The next thing you do is you send this list to the sales team. The salesperson calls or sends out an email. If there's no email and nobody's getting back to the person, he tries and tries until he gets frustrated. If somebody answers, they go through their sales protocol, whatever that may be. They try to do follow-ups, and then if the sale is made, then it's great. If the sale is not made, then unfortunately, it's a lost opportunity. Now, with lead intelligence, you add an additional layer where you generate leads. You have your lead generation sources. They go through the lead intelligence part where you're gathering all this data from the different channels. You're getting all that meaty information on the lead. Then you only send certain criterias to the sales rep, and the sales rep reaches out to those prospects. If the lead is poor, you can keep on nurturing these prospects until they, nurturing those leads. They're not prospects yet. You can keep on nurturing them until they become, they meet the criteria of the sales rep threshold, and then the sales rep now is constantly being delivered better leads. So the good thing about this is not only that the salesperson can become more efficient, but sometimes the nurture process itself can lead to automatically closing sales. So the salesperson does not necessarily have to be in touch every single time with the person to make a sale. Now, if you tell me, I don't care, I can do it this way, I think it's great. If you have 50, or if you have the resources to hire a lot of salespeople and do it, good for you. If you're a one-person operation, or you have only one salesperson on the team, and you're generating, I don't know, 20 leads per week, that's not going to be an issue. You can still do it that way, although not advisable. But how do you scale it? How do you reach a lot more people? You definitely have to think about using lead intelligence, so you can only deliver the right leads to the right at the right time to your sales team. So these are 6 signals to qualify good potentials when looking at an actual profile. The first one I call it listometer, which means how many lists this person opted into, how many webinars they've watched, how many follow-ups, how many contact forms they filled out. So how many lists they belong to? Maybe they opted into a blog, 2 webinars, and requested a demo. So the more lists a person belongs to, the more highly likely they're really willing to take a next action, or they've established enough trust with your brand. That's a very good indication. So the sites visited, for me, before I reach out to a potential lead, I always look at the pages they visited on my website. So I can take my conversation and I can only focus on the things that this person has, or ask the questions based on the pages that this person visited. Because we have multiple tools, maybe somebody's not interested in a particular feature. Why should I talk about it or ask them the questions about it? Maybe I can investigate my way into it. However, being able to look up, okay, they're interested in email and drip campaigns, that gives me better insights of what to ask and not to waste my breath and his breath. Also set up mini goals and see how many of these mini goals have been reached. Things could be people reading 2 blog articles, or maybe visiting 5 of your feature pages, or maybe spending downloading a video demo. That could be something that you might be want to look at. Also, if the nurture process is completed, that's the 4th point. If you sending them through a nurture process because they weren't qualified before, then you can look at the data and see, for instance, this person completed a nurture sequence. That's great. I can definitely target this person, or he's closer for me to do an actual outreach. So the 5th signal is the stage in online research process. So that's a combination of what I just mentioned. However, you can do it a little bit more highly targeted. So, for instance, if somebody's making a purchase, in our case, they go through a certain research process. They're probably going to research the best marketing automation tools. That's the first thing they'll be looking for. So we can write up a blog article on that. Then the second part of their research could be what other marketers have been using in marketing automation, to see and learn from others. That could be another blog post that you can write about. Or the third process could be, the future of, email marketing. So figuring out what is your user's research journey before they get to you, you can write up your blog articles accordingly, and that will take part of your nurture process. Because when nurturing a lead, you might want to think of the same way of how they're doing it themselves, and just deliver those messages to them. If you deliver to me a message of how the things I should be looking for when choosing marketing automation, at the time that I'm actually doing that research, it's amazing. So this is why figuring out what your user journey is in their research process and how they got to you and serving them the blog post accordingly is great. So the email click-through rate, I always look at it because people, when they open the email, I feel like open rate is great, but taking the next action is better. So I like to look at click-throughs and see how many people clicked on our emails and went took the next step. So there's a lot of other signals you can look for. Personally, I feel these are good enough to qualify a particular lead and deliver it to a salesperson. All right, so let's discuss lead scoring. Lead scoring is a way where you can create your own fictitious scoring scoreboard based on the actions that the user is taking, and then tailor your marketing or your sales outreach according to the score. And I'm going to explain to you what this is, because the explanation alone can be a little bit confusing. So some of these values or scores can be determined by you and your sales team, because the core purpose of lead scoring is to bridge this silo between the marketing team and the sales team. They usually don't communicate too much. They have different mindset. They have different priorities. Lead scoring can be that bridge between those two departments. So lead scoring can be done by a lot of marketing automation processes. We certainly do it at VBout. I love it. I look at the scores of all my leads because we assign different scores based on the different activities that they do. And then the aggregate of the score can mean that this person is highly engaged. So I don't have to dig deep into every single data. I might be looking at those 6 metrics that I just mentioned, but sometimes I just want to look and see from a higher level, this is the data of all my subscribers bucket or a leads bucket, and these are the ones I should be focusing on. So with this is a quick snapshot that shows you how it can be done, and I can share it with you in the demo as well. So destination URL can have a score of 50, and again, this score you make up yourself. On here you see there's a subscriber score and there's an anonymous score. Anonymous IP, that means you don't know anything about the person, and maybe you want to score this person a little bit slower when you don't know much information about. Of course, there are other things like conditions and filters. There are scoring, if you want that score to repeat or not. These are part of the things that you can track. So you can track a lot of actions like destination URL, videos being watched, links being clicked, emails open, etc., etc. And of course, there are negative scoring where you can score them if they bounced, if they complained, if they unsubscribed. This type of data also can be negatively scored, so you can deduct from the overall activity of the person. So these are some of the examples: how many pages visited, how many links clicked, how many times they visited your website, how long they stayed, and emails opened. Okay, these are just samples of what you can be scoring. And we have a glossary, by the way, on what lead scoring can cover. So once the score is assigned to a particular user, you can then create these different rules and say, I want everybody who reaches the score of 90 to be assigned to my marketing department, or anybody between the score of 100 and 200, they should be getting this particular lead nurture. So there's a lot of different rules and things that you can set up and take action based on the score of an individual lead or the score of an aggregate of leads, which means it's a lead scoring range between 100 to 200. Hopefully this is not confusing. It's a great technology. It's not new technology in the market. However, it has been very expensive to deploy it. Only heavy B2B marketers with large teams have been able to deploy it effectively, but now it's becoming more affordable to use, deploy, and implement into your marketing and sales strategy. All right, moving on to funnels. Okay, so what's a funnel? A lot of people hear it. A lot of marketers don't know how to apply it, and we certainly are trying to make it better and become better at implementing it ourselves, as well as providing it to our clients. So a funnel is the stages that a customer goes through from the moment they are aware of your purchase or of your product to the moment they become a customer and continue being a customer. So typically there's 3 types of people in your funnel. There are leads, meaning those who are engaging but not really interested. There are prospects. These are closer to making a purchase. And then you have your customers. So there's 3 buckets. You can divide them into much more, but obviously these are just a general overview to simplify things. And as you can see, the bigger your top of the funnel or your lead the lead count is, the more likely you'll have more people going through and becoming customers. So this is why part of your sales processes has to be lead generation and integrate your lead intelligence at this level here. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about what I call the big picture funnel. So typically this is the big picture funnel of any given user before they even know you or know who you are. So if somebody's interested in what you offer, the first thing they do is they have a need. So they've identified the needs, and because it's a need, that's associated with a particular issue. Maybe somebody having sleep apnea problems and they cannot sleep at night, they're waking up and all tired, and so there's an issue there. So what they do, the next step, is they start the education process in figuring out what is sleep apnea, how people are treating it, some feedback from people who has it and how they get rid of it. So this is where the search process starts, and obviously this is where you can take your keywords and your blogging strategy and your content according to this education mindset of the person who has that issue or that problem. Then they start considering an option. So now they're evaluating case studies, they're reading testimonials, they're reaching out or filling out forms on different products and websites. Then they come to the decision-making process. Let's assume that they narrowed it down to you, and they chose you. Now they make a purchase on the website, and after they make a purchase, there are additional things that they might be doing, like trying to buy additional stuff, upselling, or perhaps there's an onboarding process. So every single part of this big picture funnel can be what I call a sub-funnel. So maybe not necessarily here when they're identifying a problem, although you can make this into a funnel. But let's say the education process. Maybe you want to follow them through 4 different articles that teaches them about the issue. Knowing that somebody completed the sub-funnel 1 is key for you to know that they established some sort of a trust. Because if somebody read only the first article that didn't read the one after, that means they dropped out of your first mini funnel. Same thing with your testimonials. Maybe now it's time to send them, a case study, more, a list of testimonials and things like that, in a separate funnel. Then you have your purchase funnel on the website. If somebody comes in and fills, adds something to the cart, or they start the sign up, then they input their personal data, then they give you their money, right? That's another funnel. And again, you have the onboarding that can come after and see how people are actually following up your post sign up funnel of learning about your product or your service. So as you can see, this is the big picture funnel. It can be broken down into smaller sub-funnels. So these are 6 tips for funnel success that I want to share with you. One of them is I just discussed, is breaking down your funnel into sub-funnels and tracking users according to these smaller milestones. Definitely use technology to do it, because you cannot do it otherwise. You can use Google Analytics, and I'll share with you some tools. You can use Viva. Set up at least 1 bounce funnel, meaning when people are not completing the action, what does that funnel look like? In our case, when our bounce funnel is going through the pricing, going to the sign up, going back to the home page, because we give people only one option to exit, is to go out to the home page. I'll go back to the home page. So that's an exit funnel that we try to track, or bounce funnel, I call it, because this bounce funnel will give me a little bit more additional insights and lets me capture data on those who didn't sign up. So set up actions in the mid funnels, meaning if somebody is stuck midway, how do you follow up with them? Do you show them a message on the screen asking them is there an issue with their process? Do you send them a follow-up email? Do you have your chat pop-up box come up? So set up those actions in the middle based on delays. Analyze the progress periodically. Obviously, you know, this is with everything in marketing. You have to analyze the progress and look at the numbers. And the last tip that I want to share is don't let funnels overwhelm you. You know, I see a lot of marketers, they really get overwhelmed by funnels. They don't know how many to set up. They set up way too many. They don't set up any, and they don't know how to read it. So, you know, it's all made to make your user experience better. So don't let it overwhelm you, and just focus on, you know, at least set up one simple one and see how it goes. And once you start seeing how it works, you probably can become better at it, and you'll start liking it, because you don't want to waste up a lot of time on just funnels. It's just one thing you should be tracking. So you know, setting up your funnels, how to get started. Just like everything, you start laying out your different steps. Meaning, you know, for me to make a purchase, I need to go through page 1, page 2, page 3, or page you know, the product page, the shopping cart page, the checkout page, and then the payment success page as an example. So getting that, laying out those different steps helps you build out your funnel through that interface, whatever tool you end up using. So how do you get to the ultimate goal of whatever it is? Is it a sign up? Is it a purchase? Is it a blog opt-in form? Is it a webinar sign up page? What are the steps to reach that end result? Laying down on a piece of paper and insert them into your platform. And you can always reach out to us or reach to your marketing consultant, definitely, that to help you out, help you set that up. So what are the goals to set up? Some of the sales funnel goals. I mean, why do you do it? Mainly to find more leads. Second, increase the percentage of those leads to move through the entire funnel, because you know that you have to go through all these different pages to become a purchase. So you want to narrow it down for them, not to bounce out. Don't give them any distractions. And using funnels will help you understand if users are leaving your funnel because of an interface issue, because of their own decision-making issue, because of an uncertainty, or an issue with your own technology. So let's move on to nurturing leads. I'm gonna, you know, start going a little fast, because as we're approaching our 1 hour. So the lead nurture process is technically when somebody is not a lead, how do you convert them into a prospect? So lead nurture helps guide your leads through your sales funnels to become what we call an actual valuable prospect for your sales team. So the first thing is, for effective lead nurturing tactics, use targeted content. And I've shared with you, you know, the targeted content, like creating those different blog articles. And companies that have used targeted content have seen 20% increase in sales. Multi-channel lead nurturing, use a mix of email, automation, some sort of a retargeting to reach out to those people beyond just your website and your email campaigns. Do timely follow-ups, meaning reach out to people faster, but at the right time. Don't overcrowd them. And you know, when somebody signs up to your website, if you reach out to them right away versus waiting for 24 hours or even 30 minutes, can give you better results. Last is using lead scoring effectively. So as I mentioned, it's not difficult to use it. Once you've learned it, it's very simple to implement and deploy. It's not overwhelming, and it runs on its own. So it literally delivers messages to you without you having to lift a finger. All you need to do is just kind of tweak it a little bit in the beginning and let it work on its own. So as far as analytics, there's tons of ways to do it. You know, it always has to be based on your team priorities and your ultimate goals. So you can really break down your analytics into, and you know, take your leads and say, all right, these are the people who are unqualified. These are people who are in awareness stage. These are people who are interest stage. Now they're in consideration. Now they're intending to buy. Now they want to make a purchase. Now they're loyalty. So based on this customer mindset, from the moment they start their awareness process to the moment they become a customer. You can break down your buckets of leads according to those different stages. Then you can determine how many leads fall into each bucket, and typically using lead scoring can help you identify this with a little bit or even minimal manual intervention. If you have a sales prospector that's really gathering a lead, can intervene and they can help tweak some things a little bit. Usually the funnels can show you how many leads you have at a different stage, and also you can see the conversion rate of each stage. So this is on Google Analytics. You can see people are going, for instance, as in this example, through the article page. Now there's a buy now page and there's a thank you page. So on the article page you have 10,000 people, and this could be like the blog, right? So people coming through the blog are 10,000, and now people going to the buy now page becomes 2,000. So you have a large number of drop-offs. Only 28% moved to the next stage. Out of this, you had 1,000 people they made to the thank you page, so they made a purchase. Now you have 36% conversion. So, you know, this is a sample funnel that shows you a little bit the progression of the different people. As far as the tools to use, and we are pretty much towards the end, there's a lot of tools that you can deploy. And tools are used to help you with your lead intelligence gathering, with your prospecting, with your funnel setup. They should be saving you time, getting you money versus getting your money and wasting your time. This is why I focus on good platforms. Obviously, I can hands down recommend VBot, not only because of the technology, but also because of our support and our willingness to work with you so you can succeed. You definitely have HubSpot that comes at a higher price point than Marketo and Pardot, thousands of dollars around there. Google Analytics is not actionable for setting up funnels and metrics. Hotjar, vertical response, and you know, these are some of the few that I would name, although there's a lot more than this. So each platform might have their own way to gather leads and how features integrate together, but I definitely recommend, and we've spoken to a lot of marketers, one of the main things when choosing a marketing platform is how much they scale with your needs. So whatever you don't need today, that doesn't mean you're not going to need in the future. Make sure you choose a tool that first and foremost have what you need today. Second, they have great support. Third, they can scale with you. So if you want to branch out and start offering drip campaigns in the future, you have the ability to do it. For lead scoring, if you're starting that out and you don't need social media, you definitely should consider a platform that offers that as well. So this is the reason we built the entire platform, is that we understand your needs as a marketer, and this is why we provide all these different tools. So reaching out to the conclusion, using the tips from the presentation, we definitely recommend you deploying some sort of a lead nurture process, whether it's through drip campaigns or others. You know, the automation is becoming a little bit more sophisticated, so why not use it? Deploy your lead scoring and score leads, even if you want to test it out. Just start scoring leads based on the different things that they do, and see how your scoring or your funnel, we call it funnel visualization, is growing, right? So definitely deploy lead scoring. Using these tools, you will enhance your customer experience, you will understand your customer journey better, and you will greatly assist your sales team in their processes. And all these data and all this stuff that I just mentioned ultimately is going to help you increase your bottom line in this very busy, noisy internet world that we live in. All right, so with that, we conclude our presentation. This is our logo. We're very happy with the end result. This is our blog, so please sign up for our future updates. We have, if anybody is interested in deploying a marketing platform, please reach out and request a demo. We'll give you a one-on-one presentation. And definitely follow us on social media. We have a lot of great content coming in the next few months, and we would like you to be aware of this content. And with that, I'll take any questions. before I move over to the next part, which is I'll give you a quick demo of how VBot use lead intelligence and lead scoring. All right, so let's take some questions.